So my dear children, in the earlier chapter, we discussed how the circulation process of blood works within our body, and we identified the main parts contained within the heart. So in this part, we'll be discussing in detail the several structures which are in our heart and the tubes which are connected to our heart, and about the valves, right, which are in our heart. So first of all, you know that our heart has 4 chambers, right? So these are those 4 chambers. So upper chambers are called as atria. So here you can observe those atria. See, left atrium, the right atrium. The upper 2 portions or upper 2 parts, atria or atrium, right? Then lower chambers are called ventricles. Lower chambers are called ventricles. So here you can observe the ventricles. Left ventricle and the right ventricle, my dear children. Right? So atria, the top parts, and the ventricles. Okay? Atria and ventricles. So our heart has 4 different chambers. So you know that if you check the right side, it's colored with blue, means that it is going to process deoxygenated blood. In the left side, you can observe the red color. So it's going to process oxygenated blood. Okay. So ventricles, they are pumping blood. Auricles, they are storing blood. Right then. There are 2 valves between the atria and ventricles. Between the atria and ventricles, there are 2 types of valves. So as you can see here, the tricuspid valve, this is called as the tricuspid valve. You can see here. So here there are 3 tissue layers. That's why those are called as tricuspid valves. Tricuspid valves. 3 tissue layers can be observed within the tricuspid valve. And the mitral valve, okay, mitral valve means the bicuspid valve. So within the bicuspid valve, as you can see here, only 2 tissue layers can be observed. Only 2 tissue layers can be observed. So at the tricuspid valve, you can observe 3 tissue layers. At the mitral valve or the bicuspid valve, you can observe 2 different tissue layers. So bicuspid valve is in between the left atrium and the left ventricle. So between the left atrium and the left ventricle, you can observe the bicuspid valve. So this is the left hand side, left atrium, left ventricle, the bicuspid valve or the mitral valve, right? Tricuspid valve is in between the right atrium and the right ventricle. So between right atrium and right ventricle, you can observe the tricuspid valve. 1, 2, 3. There are 3 valves at the tricuspid valve. So bicuspid valve and the tricuspid valve. Okay, bicuspid valve and the tricuspid valve, my dear children. So you can observe these valves at the left and right side of the heart separately. Between the chambers, auricles and ventricles, you can observe the cuspid valves, bicuspid valve and the tricuspid valve, right? So remember, bicuspid valve is in between left atrium and the left ventricle, while the tricuspid valve is in between right atrium and the right ventricle. Okay, so bicuspid valve is at the left, tricuspid valve is at the right. Bicuspid valve is also called as the mitral valve. Okay, so you can see the diagram of bicuspid valve and tricuspid valve when you take a cross section of the heart like this. So as you can see here, there are 3 tissue layers, 1, 2 and 3. See, the tricuspid valve, that's why it is referred as the tricuspid valve. As you can see here, there are 3 different layers of tissues. See, 3. But in bicuspid valve at the left side of the heart, see, mitral valve or the bicuspid valve, you can observe only 2 different tissue layers like this. Okay. So bicuspid valve and the tricuspid valve. You can see it very clearly. So once again, my dear children, see, the bicuspid valve is between left side of the heart, bicuspid valve. 2 different tissue layers can be observed. See, only 2 openings. So here the tricuspid valve can be observed at the right hand side like this. There are 3 tissue layers. So bicuspid valve can be observed between the left hand side of the heart, left ventricle and the left auricle. Tricuspid valve at the right hand side of the heart between the right ventricle and the right auricle. Okay. There are 2 main arteries connected to the ventricles. So arteries, you know, arteries are the ones that carry blood away from the heart. Blood is taken away from the heart by arteries. We'll be learning about the arteries once again in detail when we come to arteries, capillaries and veins. Up to now you remember, arteries are the special kinds of tubes that carry blood away from heart. So to carry blood away from heart, there are 2 main arteries in our body. Those 2 arteries are aorta. Number 1 is the aorta. See, aorta. This is the aorta. Aorta is the first and foremost artery. As you can see here, aorta is being divided into several tubes once again. So that tubes helps to distribute blood all around the body. I told you that aorta is the main artery which distributes blood within our body. So aorta is getting connected with the left ventricle. So I once again told you that left hand side of the heart is pumping blood all around the body. Left ventricle is the one which is going to transport, or one which is going to distribute, one which is going to pump all around the body. What? Blood. Okay. So left ventricle pumping blood towards the aorta, and aorta is distributing that blood all around the body. So aorta starts from the left ventricle, right? So ventricles are connected with arteries. Left ventricle distribute blood all around the body. Okay. So aorta is the tube that connects the left ventricle. Okay, left ventricle. Aorta is the tube or the artery that distribute blood all around our body. The main artery contained within our body, aorta. Then pulmonary artery starts from the right ventricle. So from the right ventricle, as you can see here within this figure, I'll use a different color. Right? As you can see here, this is the opening of pulmonary artery. So pulmonary artery comes like this and opens to right ventricle. So as there are 2 lungs, it's going to divide once again as left and right, again, well, like these 2 parts, right? So as you can see here, right, as you can see here, this is my dear children is the, so I'm drawing it to show you. So this is the pulmonary artery, right? Pulmonary artery. So pulmonary artery directly connects with the right ventricle. You can see here it connects with the right ventricle. It opens to right ventricle. You can see here very clearly. It opens to right ventricle. And from right ventricle, it's going to pump blood towards the lungs. in order to mix with oxygen. So pulmonary artery is the second main artery. So arteries are the ones which carry blood away from the heart. So pulmonary artery start from the right ventricle. So from left ventricle you can observe the aorta. At the right ventricle you can observe the pulmonary artery, right? Pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery is going to distribute blood towards the lungs. So as there are two lungs, there are two portions of the pulmonary artery like this. Pulmonary artery. So there are two main arteries in our circulatory system, pulmonary artery and the aorta. Okay? Pulmonary artery and the aorta. Arteries are the special tubes that carry blood away from the heart. Right? Arteries are the special tubes that carry blood away from the heart. Right then. There are semilunar valves at the starting points of the main arteries. So at the starting point of the main arteries, you can observe semilunar valves. See, these are the ones which are referred as semilunar valves. I think you can remember when we are discussing the earlier chapter, I told you that these valves are like this, in a shape of a, like moon, quarter of a moon. So like this, see. So at the starting position of the aorta, you can observe the aortic valve, aortic semilunar valve, aortic semilunar valve. So aortic semilunar valve is at the starting position of the aorta. At the starting position of the aorta, you can observe the aortic semilunar valve, right? So it always opens only to one certain direction. When this left ventricle is going to compress, blood is going that way. So for that direction only it opens very well. But to the other direction, it is going to close down and jam, right? It's going to jam. So it's not going to open for the other side. Always it's opening for the top side only. Okay. Semilunar valves. So aortic semilunar valve can be observed at the aorta, at the starting position of the aorta. Okay. Then, my dear children, pulmonary semilunar valve is at the starting point of the pulmonary artery. In the same way, you can observe the pulmonary semilunar valve. At the starting position of the pulmonary artery, you can observe the pulmonary semilunar valve, right? Pulmonary semilunar valve can be identified. Pulmonary semilunar valve. So pulmonary semilunar valve is at the starting position of the pulmonary artery. Semilunar valves can be identified at the starting position of the arteries, right? At the starting position of the arteries from the heart, we can observe the semilunar valves, my dear children. Semilunar valves. So at the aorta, aortic semilunar valve can be observed. At the pulmonary artery, pulmonary semilunar valve can be observed, right? Then main veins are connected to the atria. Now main veins are called as these vena cava. So vena cava, there are two vena cava, inferior vena cava. Inferior vena cava brings blood from the lower parts of the body. And this is the other vena cava, which is referred as the superior vena cava. So superior vena cava brings blood towards the heart from the top parts of the body. See, superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. Both of these vena cava opens to the right atrium. Right atrium. Superior vena cava, inferior vena cava. So superior vena cava and inferior vena cava open to the right atrium. So both of these things opens to right atrium, my dear children. This is the right atrium. So right to the right atrium, you can observe inferior vena cava and superior vena cava connected to right atrium. Then left and right pulmonary veins are open to the left atrium. So here pulmonary veins, you can observe the pulmonary veins in here, see. So left and right pulmonary veins opens to the, see, there are two, left and right. So these two opens to the left atrium. These two opens to the left atrium, right? Pulmonary veins. So pulmonary veins opens to the left atrium. Pulmonary veins, left atrium, right? Pulmonary veins opens to the left atrium. So superior and inferior vena cava opens to the right atrium. Right atrium, can observe. To left atrium, right? To left atrium, right and left pulmonary veins can be observed. Pulmonary veins are open to left atrium. Veins are the ones that brings blood towards the heart from different organs. Okay, veins are the ones that brings blood towards the heart. Arteries are the ones that takes blood away from the heart. Okay, right then. So my dear children, you are given with an activity, right? A simple bit of an assignment. What do you have to do? Now you got a good knowledge about the circulatory system and you got a knowledge about the structure of the heart and the functions of each of these things. And we identified what are the contents contained within the heart, within the structure of the heart, right? So my dear children, at your home, by using, like you can use clay, different colors of clay. You can use a clay box and you can use different kinds of clay and you can prepare the structure at your home. And you can use like leaves and plastics and cardboard like things when you are doing these works. And you can use, if you want to make these structures, if you don't have clay, like using clay is very good because we can use different colors and different structures. But however, you can use like waste materials like plastic, dried out leaves, and those materials can also be utilized in making this thing. So what you have to do is you have to make a small bit of a design or small bit of a structure to show the structure of the heart and the parts of the heart. If you can do the circulation like as a diagram which I drew earlier in the chapter, right? Can prepare the circulation like that way also, right? So this is a special bit of an assignment that you need to do at your home, right, my dear children? So we in detail we discussed all the parts and all the structures related to the heart by using a simple diagram, a cross section. Now it's time to study about the structure in a three-dimensional array. So we'll head on to observe how the heart is being located within our body. And we'll study about the structures once again by using our 3D structure. So let's head on to that thing and we'll observe how does the 3D structure of our heart is being adjusted or how it is being created and how to identify these structures within that part. Right, my dear children, now you can observe the 3D structure within the heart, right? In the heart, this is how the 3D structure or the 3D animated diagram is there. So here you can observe how does the heart has been created, right? What is the structure of it? So here, when you zoom in, these ones, these top parts, this one and this one, see, these two parts are the auricles. Auricles. As you can see here, this chamber and this chamber over here, these two chambers are the ventricles, right? This chamber and this chamber, these two chambers are the ventricles. Auricles and ventricles. I told you that one side of our heart, see, this is the wall of the heart, right? So at the wall you can see that one wall is somewhat thicker. So this thick wall is the left hand side. So this is the left ventricle, this is the right ventricle, right auricle, left auricle. So when you take the right ventricle, my dear children, right ventricle, this is the right ventricle, and this is the right auricle and right ventricle. Between right ventricle and right auricle, you can observe 1, 2, 3, see, 1, 2, 3, you can observe the tricuspid valve, right auricle, right ventricle, the tricuspid valve can be observed, see, tricuspid valve. Then at the right, left ventricle and the left auricle, see, left ventricle and the left auricle, right? Left ventricle is this. Then this is the left auricle. Within these two, you can observe the bicuspid valve. See, the bicuspid valve, bicuspid valve. Bicuspid valve can be observed. Okay, bicuspid valve. Then, my dear children, the largest, right, the largest distribution tube, which referred as the aorta. So this is aorta. Aorta is going to open, right? Aorta is going to come and open like this. See, this is the aorta. Aorta is going to come and open towards the left ventricle. So it's going to pump blood like this. Okay, aorta. Then you can observe at here, right, this one which distribute blood, see, this one, this is called as the pulmonary artery, which is going to distribute blood towards the lungs, the pulmonary artery. So pulmonary artery, it's opening to, see, right ventricle, to right ventricle it opens, right ventricle it opens, right, it is getting opened into right ventricle, as you can see here. Then if you turn it like this, you can observe the right inferior vena cava and the other one the superior vena cava. So inferior vena cava and superior vena cava, both of these things opens to the right auricle, right? The right auricle. As you can see here very clearly, right auricle. This is the right auricle. See? And within these openings of the aorta, see, within these openings of aorta and the openings of, right, aorta and the openings of, see, the pulmonary artery. So this is the aorta which opens to the left ventricle. This is the aorta, the opening of aorta. Here I am highlighting these things. See, semilunar valves, and this is the other semilunar valve which can be observed at the pulmonary artery. So it opens to the right ventricle over here. This is the left ventricle. This is the right ventricle. Okay, so this is the, so as you can see here, see, this is the pulmonary artery, and pulmonary artery opening has the semilunar valves. And in here you can observe, see, in here you can observe the opening of aorta. Aorta opens to the left ventricle. This is the aorta, opens to left ventricle. So within that you can observe the other semilunar valve, aortic semilunar valve. So these are the main parts that can be observed within the structure of the heart, my dear children. So if you turn our heart, you can observe so within the heart also there are several, nerves, right? See, this is our heart in detail, right? These are the highlighted ones, are the auricles. See, as you can see here now, we can clearly observe this is the inferior vena cava and this is the superior vena cava which opens to the auricle. See, which opens to the right auricle. See, this is the right auricle. You take the back side of it. This is the left auricle. So left and right pulmonary, see, left and right pulmonary veins. Left and right pulmonary veins can be observed, right? This is the left auricle, right? So my dear children, this is the structure of the heart. So you can prepare a structure like this at your school or at your home by using different stuff like clay or any other material, right? So my dear children, we studied the parts of the heart by using a longitudinal section, and by using this diagram, the 3D dimensional array or 3D software also, we studied about the heart and the main parts and their functions. So let's once again head on to the classroom and we'll study about the further things related to the lesson. So my dear children, now in the earlier chapter we discussed all the parts related to the heart and we identified the structures and we identified what are the main tubes and valves contained in it. Now it's time to go for the second new main topic regarding the lesson, which is the arteries, veins and capillaries. So already you know what are arteries and veins, right? So arteries, the blood vessels that take blood away from the heart, are known as arteries, okay? Arteries are the ones that takes blood away from the heart. Then vessels that take blood towards the heart are known as veins. So arteries, they take blood away from the heart. Veins, they take blood towards the heart. So here aorta, the main arteries starting from the heart, divide into branches, right? Actually, there are several arteries. That's why within the aorta there are several arteries. That's why it is mentioned as arteries. So aorta, it's the main artery. So in the main artery there are several other arteries, right, from the heart, and it is getting divided into divided into several arteries. There are lots of arteries can be observed within our body. Aorta is the main artery. It divides into several parts, right? So as you can see here, you can observe the blue color ones, usually blue color ones. We can observe the blue color ones as the ones which carrying deoxygenated blood, which are known as the veins. And the red color ones, usually they take oxygenated blood, which are named as usually arteries. There is a special case in pulmonary veins and pulmonary arteries, my dear children. Pulmonary veins, now vein means in the sense they are carrying deoxygenated blood, no. However, if you take pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood. Why is that? Because pulmonary vein is going to bring blood from lungs towards the heart. That means it should have oxygen. From lungs coming towards the heart, no, right? From lungs coming towards the heart. So therefore it should carry oxygen. So pulmonary veins carry oxygenated blood. So pulmonary veins are normally normally colored from red color. However, all the other veins are in blue color due to having deoxygenated blood. If you take pulmonary artery is the one that carries deoxygenated blood towards the lungs. Deoxygenated blood towards the lungs. So if it is having deoxygenated blood, then it should be in blue color. However, it is an artery. So my dear children, that is the only exception where we interchange the color blue and red to indicate oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood. Actually here, oxygenated and deoxygenated blood are being shown by blue and red color, right? Oxygenated blood with red color, deoxygenated blood blue color. However, the arteries and veins are getting separated also by red and blue colors, no? Red color is for arteries, blue color is for veins. But however, at the pulmonary circulation, it differs. Pulmonary vein means it should be in blue color, but however, pulmonary vein is in red color as it carries oxygenated blood. Okay, oxygenated blood is carried out by the pulmonary vein. It's the only vein which carries oxygenated blood. Okay, pulmonary vein. Then pulmonary artery, if it is an artery, then it should be in red color. But however, pulmonary artery is in blue color because of carrying deoxygenated blood. So in pulmonary circulation, right, this color can be observed in reverse. Red has for the vein, blue has for the artery. Okay. So however, normally we refer arteries and veins, with disregard of the color, arteries and veins are normally named as or normally described as. Arteries are the ones that carry blood away from the heart. Veins are the ones that carry blood towards the heart. Okay, that's how we define arteries and veins. Main artery contained within the body is called the aorta. It divides into again several arteries, main arteries. Okay, right. The pulmonary artery, which starts from the heart, transport blood to lungs. We already know that thing, right? And also aorta supply blood to other organs. That one also we know, right? Within an organ, an artery further divides into arterioles, then into capillaries. And now within an organ means that inside an organ, Arteries are getting further divided into smaller parts, smaller units, which are referred as arterioles. Then once again these arterioles are getting divided into smaller structures which are referred as capillaries. Okay. Capillaries join together to form venules, and venules join together to form veins. Then capillaries join together to form venules. Then venules are getting created. Right? Venules are getting created by joining several capillaries. Then several venules collect together to form a vein. Okay, a vein. Then, my dear children, pulmonary veins starting from the lungs takes the blood to left atrium. To left atrium, blood is taking from the pulmonary veins. Veins from the organs above the heart join the superior vena cava, and veins from the organs below the heart join the inferior vena cava. Both superior and inferior vena cava open into the right atrium. You already know this thing, right? Vena cava are the ones which carry blood towards the heart, mainly from the organs which are located above the heart and below the heart. So, from the organs below the heart, inferior vena cava carries blood into the heart. From the organs above the heart, superior vena cava carries the blood towards the heart. Both inferior and superior vena cava, my dear children, is going to open into the right atrium. Both the superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. Right? These two opens to the right. Both these two opens to the right atrium, and they are going to carry blood. Right? They are going to carry blood towards the right. They are going to carry blood towards the heart. They are going to carry blood towards the heart by superior and inferior vena cava and open into the right atrium. So already we know these things, right? We studied already. But however, when we are studying about the arteries and veins, once again we'll be getting a good knowledge about these functions, about the arteries and veins. Right then. So now you can see how arteries and veins are getting created. So arteries, veins and capillaries, you can observe all these things within this figure. So these are the arteries. These are the arteries, then divide into arterioles. Then these are the ones which are referred as the capillaries. Then the venules, right? Then the venules, then the veins. Okay, then the veins. So blood which is coming from the heart, which is the oxygenated blood, runs all around an organ, and within the organ, the blood is getting transported by capillaries. Within the organ, blood is going to transported by capillaries. Then these capillaries getting divided into smaller venules to get the deoxygenated blood. Then this deoxygenated blood is transported to veins through these venules and getting again distributed towards the heart. Okay, by the veins. So this is how the simpler distribution or the transportation process works, right? It's very simple. So these are the ones which are referred as arteries, veins, and my dear children, capillaries. So special thing is that capillaries are very smaller structures that helps to transport blood. Okay, these are the ones which is going to help for transport blood within an organ. Within an organ, blood is getting transported by capillaries. Right then. So, artery walls are thick. Now we are discussing about several characteristics, right? Several characteristics and features related to arteries and veins. Okay, several features and characteristics related to arteries and veins. So it is given that artery walls are thick and elastic. Artery walls thick and elastic. They have thick and elastic nature, arteries. So it can withstand the high pressure of the blood being pumped directly from the heart. So why they have thick and why they have thick walls? Because they need to bear the pressure given out by heart during the pumping process. So the walls of the arteries are thick and they are elastic. Elastic means they are stretchable to a certain extent. Okay, thick and elastic. Veins collect blood from the capillaries in the body organs and transport to the heart. We discussed that thing, right? Veins are the ones which are going to collect blood from the venules and they're going to transport these blood towards the heart once again through the vena cava. The pressure of blood that flows inside the veins relatively low. So pressure inside the blood in veins should relatively low. No. It's just getting distributed to the heart. So therefore, the pressure inside the veins, the blood pressure inside the veins is relatively low compared to the arteries. Arteries are at a higher pressure, right? Heart is compressing blood towards the aorta. So at the, not at the same pressure, but however at a certain amount of a pressure, blood is flowing through arteries. Okay. So the pressure inside the arteries are somewhat greater, but in veins, the pressure is less. So pressure of blood that flows inside the veins are relatively low. Hence, the walls of veins are thin and less elastic. So walls of veins are thin and less elastic. A structural feature that can be identified within the arteries and veins. See, my dear children, artery walls are thick and elastic to withstand the high pressure. But however, walls of veins are thin and less elastic because they do not have that much of pressure like the arteries. The valves are open towards the heart to prevent the blood flow. Valves are open towards the heart. Right? Valves are open towards the heart to prevent the backflow. So my dear children, if you take the valves within the arteries, we can observe valves within the arteries. There are several valves within the arteries. Each and every artery has a valve. However, they open towards the heart. They open towards the heart in order to avoid the backflow. Okay. So, valves are open towards the heart to prevent the backflow. Walls of capillaries consist of single cell layer. As they spread among the cells, the nutrients and gases in blood diffuse into the cells and the waste matter in the cells diffuse into the blood capillaries. So, I told you that blood capillaries are the ones which are helpful in distributing, right, blood all around the organs. So organs contains tissues and cell layers and different kinds of cells. Within these cells, waste materials and all the excretory materials are getting produced upon the biological activities. So my dear children, these waste materials from the biological activities are getting diffused into the blood within the capillaries, and the oxygen carried out by the blood is absorbed by cells, and the nutrients are also getting absorbed by the cells and tissues by the blood capillaries. Okay, so by the cells which are carried out by the blood capillaries. Cells are the ones which are going to absorb these things, and as an alternative, cells are providing the excretory materials for the blood. There is an exchange of particles. Cells are giving out waste materials to the blood, and blood is going to give, or the capillaries are going to give, oxygen gas and the nutrients necessary for the cells. The exchange feature is going to happen like that. So after that, those excretory materials are getting removed from the necessary places within our body, Like if you take water vapor and carbon dioxide, they are getting expelled from the respiratory system. From our nose and mouth, they are getting expelled, right? So this is how the exchange process of nutrients and gases and other waste materials works within our body. Right then. So here within this figure, you can observe the structure of the arteries and the capillaries and the veins. So as you can see here, artery walls are somewhat thick, but however, here you can observe veins, right? Walls of the veins. Even though the walls of arteries are somewhat thick, walls of veins not that much thick. And I told you that these things are elastic. Which ones? Artery wall are elastic, but veins are not elastic. At the veins, valves are opening towards the heart, okay, like this, and valves are contained within veins as well. So like this way, you can observe the structure of the veins and, my dear children, structure of the arteries. Then you are given with a small bit of a assignment. What is that? Compare the structural and functional characteristics of arteries, veins and capillaries of the blood circulatory system. If I am going to use a table like this. Can divide into 3 columns: arteries, veins and capillaries, right? So arteries, veins and capillaries. First and foremost feature is, if you take arteries and veins and capillaries, these things are having thick walls. These are having thin walls. These are very smaller, very small tubes. These are very small tubes. Then you know that, and I have told you that, my dear children, if you take arteries, in order to withstand the pressure, the elasticity is also somewhat higher than the other, okay? Then we can say high elasticity. High elasticity. In veins, low elasticity. Here I am not going to mention as they are capillaries, right? Then, my dear children, if you take another, like functional feature, arteries are going to take, right? Arteries are going to take blood away from the heart. Arteries are going to take blood away from the heart. But you know that veins are going to carry blood towards the heart, right? And my dear children, if you take capillaries, it carry blood within organs. Carry blood within organs. So these are several structural and functional changes that we can observe within veins, arteries and capillaries. Okay, if you take the walls of arteries, they have thick walls, and walls of veins, they have thin walls. Capillaries are very smaller tubes that distribute blood within the organs. So they are very smaller tubes. Then if you take the elasticity, arteries have high elasticity, veins have low elasticity, but however in capillaries, right, I'm not going to mention, I haven't mentioned about the elasticity because it's going to distribute blood within the organs, right? Then if you take the functionality, the main function of these things, blood is take blood away from the heart by arteries. Arteries are going to take blood away from the heart, or the distribution process of blood. Blood is getting distributed all around the body through arteries. So my dear children, if you take the function of arteries, arteries are going to take blood away from heart. Arteries are going to take blood away from heart. But however, if you take the veins, veins are going to carry blood towards the heart, right? Veins are carrying blood towards the heart. Blood is carried towards the heart by veins. Then, if you take the capillaries, my dear children, capillaries are the ones which is carrying blood within organs. Within smaller organs, capillaries carry blood. Okay. So these are several structural changes that we can observe within the arteries, veins and capillaries, and also functional changes. So these are only three things now. So there are another lot of things. Right? There are several other things. There are several things, several structural changes and functional changes within arteries and veins especially. So at home, by referring books or internet, you can find out these details and tabulate like this. So my dear children, it's important to follow out these things in order to get a good knowledge about our circulatory system and about the valves connected to circulatory system. So I have mentioned here three, right? So my dear children, you find out what are the other characteristics that can be observed within these arteries, veins and capillaries. Okay, so I hope that you follow up with the lesson, you follow up with the things with regards to the arteries, capillaries and veins, and you will find out even more details rather than this. So my dear children, with that thing, we have came into the end of our second chapter. So in the second chapter, we discussed about the things, once again the main things, the areas related to blood tubes and valves. Then we studied about the 3D structure of the heart, and we identified, if you take a 3D structure, we identified how to identify these main parts of the heart, which includes the 4 main chambers and the valves and the tubes that connect with the heart and so on, right? Then after that, we discussed about the arteries, veins and capillaries, and we finally compared their features and structural changes and also functions in order to get some good idea about the arteries, veins and capillaries. So I hope that in home you will identify these things, you will compare these things, and also you will find out even more details about the arteries, veins and capillaries. So my dear children, with our next chapter, or in our next chapter we'll be discussing further details which includes in our lesson. So I hope that you will stay with me till the end of our lesson. So in the next chapter we'll discuss about the contents or components that contain within the blood. So till then it's time to say goodbye.